man, guys.
We got that many complaints to be able to do
educating me.
One Tommy Robinson! One Tommy Robinson! There's only one Tommy Robinson! Tommy Robinson!
We've taken a little bit of criticism for coming up to Birmingham today. A few people saying that obviously we've been a multicultural city. Why are we coming here? The reason why we come to Birmingham, Birmingham's the second city in the UK. It's Britain. That's why we come here. Look, I want to put make a few things clear. Obviously, it's been difficult the last few months with the FLA. Most people know that. It's been well documented. I just want to move on now today. After Birmingham, you know, we move on with things. We're going to go to Manchester next in May. And look, at the end of the day, what I want to make clear, in recent weeks and months, there's been a lot of far-left activists, and that's prompted the mainstream press to call us racist. Now, to me, all we're doing is standing up for what's right and what's wrong, and currently what's going on in this country is wrong. It's not right. You know, yeah, there's been a clear agenda against us, you know, and it's been quite apparent since the last March, you know. The stuff that's been written, the conversations I'm having with the press, all they want to do is label us as far right. All we are is working class people, we're the people of this country, and all we want is a safer place for our children and grandchildren. Look, at the end of the day, we all know, it's all gone quiet now, there hasn't been no attacks for a while, but we all know that we're, you know, only one day or month or whatever away from another attack. So we have to keep going. We can't stop doing what we're doing, and we have to keep going until the government, you know, make changes, till the government take us seriously. And you know, the press, we won't go away. That's what we'll say to you. We'll keep going. We'll keep coming back stronger. This thing's only going to grow. There's a hell of a lot more patriotic people out in the country who think the same as us. And all we've got to do is keep going and keep pushing this movement forward. I'm not going to say a lot more because obviously we've got some people here today who are, you know, experts, people who are going to really give us some insights into what's going on in this country, what's wrong about this country at the minute. One thing I will say, and obviously Tommy's here today and everyone knows he's here. What Tommy done the other week at Speaker's Corner, you know what, he stood up for what's right in this country, free speech. We're here today protecting free speech. By doing what we're doing today, we're standing here, we are exercising our civil right for free speech. And we can't stop doing what we're doing, we can't be censored. I mean, I got blocked on Facebook last night for saying that, you know, we're making a stand here today against Islamist terrorism. So, you know, I'm not being funny, that's wrong, and that has to stop. We're not going to be censored, we're going to keep going back, we're going to keep sharing our stuff, this thing's going viral, alright? All I'm going to say is, have a good day, respect the city of Birmingham, let's do it right, let's not do it wrong, let's march, let's show people what we're about, and, you know, you lot are the future, you lot are this country, you know, without the patriots, without the backbone, the FLA's the backbone, and you know, we can't go away, we've got to stand firm now, alright? Thanks everyone. Right, first person speaking today is Anne-Marie Waters.
you? Hello, Britain. People from all over the country here today, thank you ever so much for coming out. I'm always relieved when I see an audience this size, when I see people willing to get up and come out and stand up for what's right. I'm always relieved when I see that. Because we are living, and you all know this, and if you didn't know this you wouldn't be here, we're living in a very dark time in this country's history, a really dark time. And that dark time is going to take some light shining on it. We live in a country where you can go to jail for a joke, but not for gang raping a child. We live in a country where the police spend more time on Twitter than they do on jihadis. We live in a country where we are not free to speak our minds without being lied about and smeared by corrupt politicians and corrupt media, and it is time to bring it to an end right now. It is time to bring it to an end. We live in insanity. We're living in insanity. And there is only one thing that will defeat insanity, and that thing is the truth. It is the truth. Throughout my time in politics, about 10 to 15 years now, I was told time and time again, whether it be in the Labour Party or in UKIP, I was told time and time again, rein it in a bit, tone it down a bit. You're causing too much offence, you're too controversial. And every single time I said, no, I will never rein it in, because what I'm saying is true. What I'm saying is true. Now, For Britain was formed with a primary purpose, and that primary purpose is to tell the truth. And everyone involved in For Britain is here to tell the truth. Now here are some priorities, and here is some truth. The European Union. We have got to get out, first of all, of the European Union. But secondly, we have to bring down the European Union. It has to go. We will never be free of its clutches until it is gone. And we have to understand that. And it's not good enough. It's not good enough for politicians to bleat on endlessly about trade deals or call Theresa May a traitor. We must present a real vision of the future, a vision without the European Union in it, because nothing is going to save us from it. We can't. Brexit is not going to stop people jumping on trucks in Calais. None of this is going to change until the European Union is gone, and we have to give hope. We have to bring an actual vision of a future to the people, one they will believe in and one they will trust. That is the only way we are going to be free. And I don't know why anyone is surprised about the latest news on Brexit that we're going on until 2022. This is a delaying tactic for that second referendum and nothing else. That is what that is. We have to bring down the European Union, and we will bring it down. We will bring it down using one thing, the truth. And the truth is that the European Union, from its very first day, was a totalitarian, fascist tyranny that aimed to destroy every European country and enslave its people. That is the truth about the European Union. And another truth about it is that it has knowingly, the EU has knowingly and deliberately imported hell on earth to Europe. It has allowed people to be killed and raped in the streets, and even after that, even in knowing that people were being raped and killed in the streets, the EU said they were still going to keep the borders open. It has to go. It is a poison. And only when people hear this message and the truth about the tyranny of the European Union, not trade deals, but the tyranny we are living under, that is how you bring down the European Union. Another priority for us is the public sector and making it accountable to the public. The public pays for the public sector, and I want to see in place a method where the local people, where the people of this country can sack chief constables who don't do their job. Same across the board. Chief executives in councils, local governments all over this country on six-figure salaries while children are raped and abused on their watch. They should all be sacked, and we should be the ones to sack them. But there's another one, another big issue, and it's the one that causes the big divide, the big problems. It's the one that's had me sidelined and shoved out of pretty much everything for years. And that, of course, is Islam. I have heard it all over the years. I have heard it all. The one big excuse: you will offend the moderates with your language. You will offend moderate Muslims with your language. Well, I'm sorry, but millions of decent British people are offended by this religion and the poison it's bringing into our country. And it's extraordinary to me that the politicians don't seem to care about offending millions of us, and they prioritise offending this tiny little group. I don't care if they're offended, because I'm offended by female genital mutilation, I'm offended by child marriage and forced marriage and honour violence and all the other horrors this religion is bringing to our society. I will say so, and I don't give a damn who is offended. You'll hear is tone it down until we get into power. Just rein it in a bit, we'll win elections and then we'll deal with it. Couple of points. Never ever trust a politician who changes their tune, because I can assure you they will change it back again if and when they are called on to do it. Never trust a politician who suddenly changes their tune. We have a massive job to do here. A massive job to do here. But I can feel a change happening in this country. I can feel a real change. People like myself, Tommy, other people, are being vindicated. For years, we were called every name under the sun, and we are now being vindicated. We were right, and the people who agreed with us were right, and now that is starting to become evident. There is change coming. Do not leave this in the hands of the established political parties. They did this to us in the first place. They've had years. They knew what was going on for years and years and years and did nothing. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. Do not hope that they will change. Join a party you know will do this. Don't put your hope. No. Hope is not good enough. You have to know who's going to do this and who isn't. And the primary task, the first thing, the very first thing, because you will be told it's impossible. Under our system, it's impossible. New parties can't break through. It's impossible. Absolute rubbish. The ultimate authority in this country is not Theresa May. The ultimate authority in this country is you. And your first job is to believe you can change it. Nothing has ever been achieved by people who didn't believe they could do it. Nothing has ever been changed by people who didn't believe they could do it. You have to believe you can bring this down, and you can. Change happens all the time. Do not believe the doomsayers. Do not believe the people who say this can't be done. This is our democracy. It can and will be done. And as for the corrupt media, As for the corrupt and lying media, I tell you, not until you're on the receiving end of the media do you know what liars they really are. Do you know what liars they really are? I have read things about myself. I simply couldn't believe what I was seeing. I simply couldn't believe. I didn't recognise who or what they were talking about. This is the core of the poison in this country, is the corrupt and disgustingly lying media. Shame on every single one of them who make their living lying to the British people about the state of this country. Shame on them. But we will move around them. They are not insurmountable. We have the internet, thankfully, and no matter what Google or YouTube or any of the other corrupt fellow liars do, we will find a way around them. This is what's great about the human mind. It will continue to create and create and create. We will find a way around them. And in a more old-fashioned way of doing it is there are people out here today handing out leaflets. Remember good old-fashioned leaflets? That's what we will do. We will do this. We will do this because we have no choice but to do it. We have no choice but to do it. We will not let them do this to us anymore, and we will have a clean sweep. If we believe we can do it, we can have a clean sweep of Westminster and put people in there who care about this country. This is not about me. This is not about any individual. I'm not standing here telling you today that I'm the Messiah and I'm going to solve all your problems. This isn't about me. It's about you. But as leader of this party, I will make you a solemn promise. If you join with me and you believe we can do this, because we can, I will never, ever back down. I will never, ever backtrack. I will never back down. Stay strong, believe, love your country. This is the greatest country on earth. Love it, protect it, and join us and make history. And the ability to make history, as you know, as we found out on June 23rd, 2016, is in your hands. The ability to make history is in your hands. And it's literally in your hands as well to get out your phone and go to forbritain.uk and join a movement for this country. This country comes first. We will fight for it and we'll protect it. Thank you very much for coming along.
Thanks to Anne-Marie. So I think that was inspirational. I think we potentially could have someone who's going to stand up for what's right about this country and stand up for us. At the moment, we're disenfranchised. We're not represented, so thanks Anne-Marie. For Britain. Now we've got Luke Nash-Jones from Make Britain Great Again. Thanks, Luke.
Come on, Luke.
Currently I also have a 30-day ban on Facebook. They're very angry that I criticise paedophiles. Now this is more than the first time it's happened, and I'm going to launch my own competitor to YouTube because I've had enough of this censorship. Now they can't stop me come out and speak to you today either. Now, we're here from many different football teams, and it's great to see that we're united against terrorism and against grooming gangs. And many of you are from English football teams. Now, the symbol of the English football team is the 3 lions, and the symbol of the British rugby team is also the lions. And you standing here today on this street are the lions of Britain. And a lion is fierce, it's brave, and it's courageous. You don't want to get on the wrong side of it. But let's just think about another animal. It's sheep. It's cute. It's fluffy. You might want to hug it. Now our leaders are weak, they are soft, and they are cowards. They are sheep. What fear could there possibly be when someone like Theresa May runs a government which is talking of allowing jihadis to come back into our country to walk down our street? where a man who went to fight against ISIS has been banged up? What fear could there possibly be when jihadis are being given council homes, but our war heroes sleep rough on our streets rather than being mobilised as a home guard? And what fear could there be in the mind of criminals, paedophiles, when the police in Rotherham came out and apologised for a lack of action? The police instead are busy harassing people for Facebook posts critical of paedophiles. The police are busy putting posts on Twitter of them with blue fingernails, grown men, policemen, sporting high heels, and being proud that they painted their police car pretty colours. This is not what we pay our tax for. They're meant to keep women and children safe. We've become a country of men who are emasculated, effeminate and denigrated, known online as soy boys. But they're not protecting women. We've seen what happened in Telford, Rochdale, Keighley and many other towns. And there's one particular case I found very disturbing. A little girl called Charlene Downs. It wasn't enough for them to rape and kill her. They chopped her into pieces and sold her as a kebab to eat. And when I read that, no one's been arrested for this or charged. When I read that, I felt sick. And then there was the anger that rushed through my blood. How can we as a nation stand silent as our children are raped? No, unfortunately our politicians are not interested. They're not talking about real problems. They're not in the real world. They're discussing whether grown men should be allowed to go in the girls' bathroom. The Tory government tells state departments not to use the words he or she in case they trigger somebody. Now we know whether you're male or female. There's only two genders. You either have a pair of balls or you don't. Now they're the people that have come out to protest against us today. What kind of idiot would have a counter-protest against people who hate terrorism? Now their leader is Diane Abbott. Let's just think a little bit about that. Diane Abbott insinuated that white mothers are inferior. She's in no position to lecture us on what is racist. The Labour Party banned white men from their conference. And also her organisation, the ones having the counter-protest Stand Up to Racism, have often had as a keynote speaker Moazim Beg. Now he was in Guantanamo Bay, he ran an extremist organisation called Cage, and he said that he thought Jihadi John, a terrorist, was a good man. Now they can lie that you're racist, that you're sexist, xenophobic, Islamophobic, but they are Anglophobic. They have speakers who support terrorism where we march against it. And last year, in November, when we all wore our red poppies to remember our war heroes, Labour had the arrogance, the nerve, to invite into Parliament the mother of all democracies, MEND. Now they've been described by the Henry Jackson Society as Islamist, and their leader Azad Ali called for the killing of British soldiers. Anyone who votes for Labour is either blind or an idiot. And what I want to know is why Labour won't come and join us on April the 21st in Telford to march against child abuse. No, they used to have a deputy leader called Harriet Harman who ran the NCCL, and it was linked to the paedophile information exchange. And also the left adore Peter Tatchell. Peter Tatchell wrote a book calling for the legalisation of the rape of little boys. These are the kind of people that would oppose Donald Trump coming to Britain. So I need you now to shout with me, to make clear to the world, what do we think of Donald Trump? Shout it!
Trump! We want 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 Trump!
Shout with me, make Britain great again! Make Britain great again!
Make Britain great again!
And what do we think of Diane Abbott? And the Labour Party has lost the plot.
She's a beauty!
And Diane doesn't like that today. The Labour Party completely lost the plot. They're not talking about real problems that affect working people. Mines, factories and shipyards have been closed across the country. Where my family come from in Wales, there's high unemployment and whole communities died. And Labour doesn't talk about this. They don't know that pain that you and I feel. People like Jeremy Corbyn don't understand. People like Theresa May. They're busy slapping each other's backs down in London and lining their pockets with money. What we need to remind them is that there's a world beyond the M25. There are people outside of London and we matter. Now these politicians don't know our problems. They don't have to queue for a doctor. Diane Abbott probably has private health care. They don't know what a housing shortage is like. In fact, I doubt Theresa May's ever been to a council estate in her life. And they don't have to struggle for a job due to undercutting from mass migration, because people like Richard Branson are swanning it around the Caribbean. Now at the moment they're demanding for more migration. They demand that we allow in these fake refugees. Now I say fake because what is the legal definition of a refugee? The UN says a refugee is someone coming to the first safe port of call, the first safe country. So if you're a refugee coming to Britain, you come from a country next door to us. Which country is that? What's next door to us? Somalia are over the Channel Tunnel, aren't they? Syria next door, aren't they? Not one of those people is a legal refugee, and we must send those boats back. They won't make Britain their home. We will have the Australian-style border policy that we voted for in the EU referendum. All these politicians are worried about is money. They're reliant on Saudi oil, especially France, that doesn't have its own oil. So the EU is at the beck and call of the Middle East. When it says jump, they ask how high. Saudi has France by the balls. And this is why we no longer say when in Rome, do as in Rome, but we endorse multiculturalism. We have Sharia courts. And we have, as Trevor Phillips said, a balkanisation of Britain, where ethnic ghettos are formed around our country, and we don't have integration. There are people who hate our flag and would burn it. They won't speak our language and they hate our culture. And if we don't make a stand here and now, England as we know it won't exist within 10 years. History shows what awaits us. We just have to look to a country not far away from us, Sweden. And due to their acceptance of higher levels of mass migration, their failure to demand for cultural integration, and their falling birth rate, yes, as the great philosopher Milo Yiannopoulos said, feminism is cancer, they now have the second highest levels of rape in all of the world, except for Lesotho. Now, we here say no. We will not stand idly by, crippled with fear, with our heads held low. As our nation, the greatest civilization mankind ever knew, disappears off into history. Cecil Rhodes said to be born English, or so we say British, is to win the lottery in life. And we are the finest people that mankind ever knew. And if we fall, mankind will be set back 1,000 years. We are the cradle of civilization. Our land is the birthplace of democracy, of liberty, and of the rule of law. It is we who, through the finest advances ever in engineering, invented the railways, the computers, and also the World Wide Web. And for all the bad we hear about the British Empire, it is we who went to far-flung corners of the world where people couldn't read and write, and we built them schools and hospitals, where they didn't know what the wheel is, and we brought them cars and roads and taught them how to drive.
Rule Britannia!
Now if we don't come now together, if we don't come now together, black and white, male and female, gay and straight, and restore this nation to something of pride, it won't exist any longer. This is our last chance. And when people look back on the future, your children and grandchildren and theirs, will they say that we did our duty? Will our language still be spoken? Will our culture still be here? And will our flag wave high? Will they say that we showed the courage of lions, with a heart of oak, with the strength of British bulldogs, as we breathe the fire of the Welsh dragon? Or will they say we were cowards?
No, never!
Now therefore, to conclude, in the spirit of the Chartists, we fought so bravely for democracy, in the spirit of those who gave their lives many times before, to defend our shores from Vikings, Romans and Nazis, and yes, we do hate Nazis, in the spirit of those who rode out to the Holy Land to defend it with shouts of Deus Vult, and in the spirit of the tens of millions who died in World War II, for our nation, for Christendom and for civilization, for our freedom. Today we say, enough is enough. Today we say, you will betray our nation no more. Today we say Britain lives, and it will not go quietly into that dark night.
Cheers, Luke. Right, we've got to move on quickly. We've got Alina from 120 Decibels. Just to let everyone know, 120 Decibels are a group that was formed earlier this year in response to migrant rapes. Obviously, following the issues we've had in Telford recently, it's really relevant that this issue's sort of discussed and that the government do more. So Alina's going to give us an insight into what they're doing out in Germany and across Europe. Thanks, Alina.
Inviting me to speak here. It's my pleasure and my honor. Hello, Birmingham. My name is Aline and I'm a patriotic activist from Germany, today representing the 120 Decibel campaign that is raising awareness for imported sexual violence against women resulting from uncontrolled and illegal mass immigration. I met Toby Robinson for the first time a few weeks ago when he came to Germany to accompany our first action from the 120 Decibel campaign. There was a big Me Too event in Berlin, right in front of our parliament, where lots of famous women, mostly actresses, journalists, politicians and other high society women gathered to talk about what they call sexual harassment. Unfortunately, this term is used very widely by women who feel regret over having consensually engaged in sexual actions, as well as for something as harmless as a compliment. So the rich and beautiful met in this huge and glamorous tent to lament over small things like saucy comments from their colleagues or the uneasy feeling after having agreed to do the casting in a hotel room. To be blamed, of course, old white heterosexual men and their supposedly predator behavior. After listening to a few speeches and hearing sentences over and over, like, we need to break the silence, we need to show solidarity with the victims of sexual harassment, the activists of 120 Decibel, we wanted to show our solidarity and decided to remind the high society ladies that out there, there are real real victims. Girls groped on their way to school. Girls raped and murdered on their way home. Not by white old men, but by illegal immigrants. The other activist girls and I entered the stage silently with a banner saying, "The voice of the forgotten women," because unfortunately there has never been any big event for the victims of real sexual violence, especially not right in front of the parliament in Berlin. Recalling these poor girls probably struck a nerve because the high society ladies immediately started to yell at us and call us Nazis. So they screamed Nazis out. Until then, I never had realized or even had the slightest idea that I could possibly be a Nazi, because probably I am not. While I was born in Germany, my parents come from Romania. My mother fled the communist regime when she was 20. My father met her years later and fell in love with her and with Germany. It's unclear with whom he fell in love first. I was raised with Germany as my home country and German as my mother tongue. Neither did I, not forgetting my ancestral roots. So there I stood, suddenly being called a Nazi. Why again? Because we dared to confront those #MeToo feminists with their own hypocrisy. It seems that progressive feminists have more of a problem with white men than they have with It seems that progressive feminists have more of a problem with white men who don't rape than they have with Muslim men who do. After they declined any discussion with us and expelled us from their event, exclusively dedicated to their pathetic self-pitying, we triggered our pocket alarms to break the silence finally. They are 120 decibel loud and are now available in every drugstore in Germany, right next to other daily items. Their purpose is to rout out any attackers and to attract the attention of other pedestrians. We called our campaign 120 decibel because, like this device, the hashtag 120 decibel was created to attract attention, in this case, to the immediate consequences of wrong immigration policy on girls and women. Our aim is to break the silence caused by political correctness and talk frankly about the lack of safety in public spaces for girls and women and their experiences with migrant violence. Opening the borders to mass immigration, not checking who is entering, and not deporting criminal migrants has immediate effects on our lives, on our security. Every victim is one too many. The people we have supported until now have sold us out. It is thanks to them that we can no longer afford to do nothing. We already silently learned to modify our behavior and appearance to avoid being raped. Being told by the police not to go out alone at night, or being told we should not go jogging alone. We will not get accustomed to these constantly deteriorating conditions. The more illegal immigrants are coming in, the worse the situation will become. The no-go zones will certainly not vanish, they will grow. Even though politicians would rather sweep this topic under the carpet because it does not fit into their globalist agenda, we will draw attention to all the female victims of migrant violence and make sure they will not be forgotten. Spreading the 120 decibel hashtag is one important step to achieve these goals. It is necessary to create a possibility for women to express their fear and talk about their experiences. Because if we can't start talking about this now, the future will look very, very gloomy. I myself had a few very bad experiences. I don't have the time to talk about them all right now, but one thing that was very important for me was that at first, when this started to happen to me first, I was reacting the wrong way because I was afraid of being impolite or coming across as racist. So I stopping and getting into a conversation with these men that are trying to get into a conversation with you and then start groping you is totally the wrong sign. You need to trust your instinct, and if your instinct says you need to leave and just go and continue your way, do this, and don't care if somebody calls you racist or whatever. But scary things like these happen on a regular basis, and there's nearly no woman in Germany who hasn't encountered a situation that made her feel the fear creep up her spine. I should have trusted my instinct to ignore that man who was groping me and who was actually sexually harassing me. I should have trusted my instinct from the beginning. And it is important because the police is not protecting us. The law is not protecting us, as we have seen in the tragedies regarding Telford. But our instinct is, we need to teach our children to be cautious and wary, and don't let political correctness weaken their instinct. In Germany, it got so far that a girl who got raped by 3 immigrants and robbed afterwards felt severely guilty of inciting racial hatred because of reporting it to the police. Political correctness had her brainwashed so properly. The first time she went to the police station, she reported only the robbery and said that there weren't only immigrants but also Germans involved. The next day, she went to the police station once again to admit that she had lied before and to report that in truth there were no Germans involved, and besides being robbed, she actually got raped. She then told the journalist that she can't cope with her bad conscience, having revealed the truth to the police and the public. We need to stop. Hello? We need to stop this monstrosity. Victims feeling guilty of inciting racial hate because of reporting their immigrant abusers to the police. Police and lawyers unwilling to take action because they are afraid of being called racist. See Telford, Rotherham, Newcastle. Calling someone a racist when criticizing a perverted belief system, as the Islam is utterly moronic. And if those Muslim grooming gangs have nothing to do with Islam, then why do their Islamic leaders, why don't they put out a fatwa in which they clearly say anyone who engages in these grooming gangs is cast? Everyone who engages in these grooming gangs is cast out of Islam. Why are they not talking about it? Why are they not denouncing it? Because Islam is a religion of peace. And because it's so peaceful, anyone who dares to criticize it is being silenced. The UK is turning into a hell of a totalitarian state right in front of our eyes. Lawrence Southern got detained because under the Terrorism Act for committing blasphemy in the UK when she did a social experiment to see how people react if Allah is called gay. Brittany Pettibone got detained and banned because she wanted to interview Tommy Robinson. And Martin Sellner got detained and banned because he wanted to hold a speech at Speaker's Corner. All this while radical jihadists and former ISIS fighters are not only welcomed by the UK, but even offered housing. It can't be that criminals are being covered by political correctness while victims are left at the mercy of their tormentors. And the people who criticize it are being censored, threatened, shut down and banned. Women of England, women of Europe, we should now know our place. Our place is at the ballot box, defending ourselves from this invading rape culture, from men who've been raised to believe that an unveiled or uncovered woman deserves to be assaulted and raped, who think this is perfectly normal behavior. Violent misogyny is not some minor aspect of Islam. It is central. If you care about your daughters and granddaughters, you have no excuse for not resisting it with everything you've got. How many sexual assaults and rapes are we going to tolerate before we finally decide that enough is enough? Dear Britons, be loud, raise your voice, and break the silence, because you still can. Thank you for your attention, and God bless.
Right, everyone, who's ready to march? Right, we're heading down this road here, so everyone can get ready to move off here. Right, let's do what we've done in London. Let's do it proper, and don't react to any retaliation. We're the FLA, come on.
Go on, FLA!
Services are, there tends to be consistent cutbacks. There tends to be, upspikes of terrorist attacks. There tends to be
the general objective of the FLA is against extremism, obviously, and against Islamic extremism. Yeah. So how do you think that went today with basically Anne-Marie giving her speech and the party that she stands with?
I mean, look, at the end of the day,
day, like I said, Anne Marie's she's not afraid to speak out against Islam. She's not fearful of, she's not unlike other politicians. Apart from someone like Lord Pearson who come out recently and spoke out against Islam. Anyone who does gets kind of criticised. And there's a culture there that in politics that people won't raise the concerns which us people have.
What do you say to those who say that you don't respect some people, well, Muslim people's sensitivities, and you brand Muslims all with one brush?
Look, like I've always said, our concerns are more around those who are either hate preachers, those who tend to want to kind of kill and maim people, the people who are really, encouraging hate in society. We don't want that. We want a safe place for our children and grandchildren.
What's happened recently with your social media? Because there's been a number of posts that have been taken out saying that there's racism in the FLA, there's Islamophobia. What do you say to that?
What I say to that is that, like of any group or social media page, you have to moderate and manage it, and we're doing that. We all have full-time jobs. We're trying to manage it as best as we can. We don't condone any form of racism. We're not a racist movement. We're people who just want a better place in society, and unfortunately, we seem to be getting that usual stereotype, the EDL stereotype, but we're not that. I mean, we're just people who are concerned.
I've in fact heard a number of EDL supporters in this march today. What's your reaction to that?
Obviously, in what context? I don't understand.
Well, a number of the supporters here are comprised of supporters who are from the EDL as well.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, the way I look at it is this is a new page. I mean, we're not a fascist right-wing movement. If people are willing to stand up for what's right, then I'm happy if they can, for them to attend. At the end of the day, the EDL's gone and been, or kind of an organisation which is dissolved. We're trying to create something different. We're trying to have a little bit of respectability about what we've done. We've had 3 marches now and 1 arrest, and people carry themselves in general high esteem. Obviously people are passionate and want to.
It seems like everything's been happening relatively peacefully. There haven't been any issues in the rally.
We've had 3 demos on it, so 3 demos, 1 arrest. Obviously people are going to be passionate, people are going to sing and show that. But as long as people are respectful to people in and around the Birmingham area, same with London, then to me that's all I care about. We just want a safer place. We want more action by government, and I think we'll keep trying to develop and grow this movement, and we'll keep use it as a pressure group to try and enact change.
With this intergroup yesterday, the Democratic
like with a lot of street movements, personalities, people don't always agree, fall out. There's been some disagreements with some individuals, and they've started up a separate movement. But yeah, I mean, at some point we'll probably come back together and march together, because at the end of the day it's all one cause. We're all looking to create a safer place for our children and grandchildren.
What have the disagreements been on?
Money, tends to be money, tends to be egos. Comes with the territory sometimes. It's just the nature of it.
Well done, John.
It's just, look, it comes with the territory. Trying to deal with 100,000 people, 100,000 different personalities, doesn't come easy.
Sure. Excellent. Thanks so much, John.
Cheers.
Thanks.
How do you think it went today?
Decent numbers. Obviously not as big as London, but still probably something between 7,000 to 10,000. I don't really know the exact numbers, but it looked to be going back quite far. I think a lot of people probably got their timings a bit wrong, because people were coming a bit later on, mid speeches. People were generally respectful, patriotic, singing, but generally respectful to the local people, and generally, done what we asked of them, and turned up, marched, and sort of followed what we're sort of trying to portray. Is we're trying to portray an image of people who, you know, are patriotic about their country. At the same time, you know, we need to take a hard line and show that we're obviously disappointed with what's going on in society and with terrorist attacks, and a lot of people feel the same. So you're seeing a bit of an uprising, people wanting change.
I mean, do you think that to grow you have to start attracting people who aren't just speaking football supporting English white men?
I mean, look, we're only 10 months into this process, you know. No one could have imagined it would have grown like this. No one could have imagined, you know, we would have had 3 marches in 10 months. You know, in the next week we've got a big meeting with people we're working with. We've got a meeting up in Manchester next Thursday to plan the next march, and we're looking at other options as well around how we can develop this further. You know, this is a growing organisation who can do more than just, you know, protest on the street. I'm not going to say what, but we've obviously got plans to develop in the future to try and, you know, expand our protest by other means.
Which is a political party with a, you know, political view, which is very much anti-immigrant. Are you going to align yourself with that?
We're aligning ourselves with people who are, well, at the minute we're not aligning ourselves with any political party, but what we're doing is we're giving people a platform who are, you know, have some form of correlation aligned to what the FLA believe in, and what, you know, we want a safer place. You know, we want communities, Islamic, you know, the Muslim communities to kind of come out and do more about these people that are coming out and killing our children. You know, it's not acceptable for people to go to a concert or for people to go about their life and, you know, get attacked, get killed, get maimed. You know, enough's enough. And, you know, like I said, you know, we're going through a phase where you know, terrorism's gone quiet, but, you know, we saw only recently in France over the weekend there was another terrorist attack, and once again, what do we do about it? We need to do more. Like, you know, we've got thousands of people on watch lists. You know, more has to be done to control these people. You know, and if the government needs to get a backbone, we are the backbone here. The FLA are the people standing up for what's right in this country. The government at the minute seems to be failing the people. Who? Tommy's doing an interview with Gerard Batten for UKIP. So Tommy come here and then he's going to do an interview with Gerard. So he come. No, he's gone to do an interview. Gone to do an interview with Gerard Batten. Tommy come, he done an interview at our demonstration, then he's gone to do an interview with Gerard Batten at the other one. Gerard Batten's UKIP. Was it around about Anne-Marie Waters for Britain?
Well, but he's giving out a particular message that, you know, everyone knows that's what the FLA said.
Like I said, you know, there are correlations between what Anne-Marie says and what the people of the UK want. You know, at the end of the day, Islamic extremism is the prime problem in the UK. There's no hiding place. You know, I'm going to come out today and say that and probably be vindicated for it and probably called racist, but at the end of the day, I don't have a problem with modern Muslims. What I have a problem is people going around killing innocent children, killing people for the sake of a religion. It's got to stop.
Ideology, race anyway.
Well, but I'll get called racist anyway.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. But it's the people who don't know.
Yeah.
It's not racist at all. It's not racist. So that's the easy object.
Look, we're going to Manchester in 2 months. It's the anniversary of the attack, so we're going to coincide with that week, the anniversary of the MEN attack. We're speaking with Safi and Bruce families. Hopefully we can get them to come to the march, or to get someone to speak. So what we want to really do is show people who have been impacted by terrorism, to show what the effects of that does. So there's long-lasting effects of, you know, losing a loved one or having injuries, which mean you can't, you know, go about your life as you used to. There's that, and, you know, it's an opportunity to have a big process in another city. Who knows what's going to happen between now and then in terms of the FLA, in terms of, you know, terrorism, but we seem to to be on a crest of a wave where now people are now waking up and people are coming out on the street and really, want change.
Nobody ever does, but in that situation that they ever did.
It's weird though, the message I seem to get from your speech and from the different speakers is everyone in this country should be afraid. That this country living in fear, which doesn't, I don't know, what kind of message is that? Not especially, no.
It's not a safe place.
Have you met the girls who were tortured and gang raped all over the country who go to the police and the police do absolutely nothing about it? That's a reason to be afraid. When this is happening in every town and city in this country and the police are doing nothing everywhere, that's a reason to be afraid. And if I had daughters, I don't thankfully, but if I did, I would be afraid for them.
That's why
there is a reason to be afraid. And you're living, this is a denial. This is a denial. Everything is okay. What are you stirring up fear? There's a reason. There's a reason to be worried.
1984 and we're living it.
Yes, we are.
Interesting.
Yes, we are.
I've got two daughters and I'm crapping myself.
Huh?
I've got two daughters and I'm very, very worried.
I've got one daughter. And I'm emigrating.
Contact me every day, not just in this country, all over Europe.
I've got a 6 month and I have a 6-month-old daughter and I am emigrating.
I think what you're seeing is the working class are coming back to the surface.
The children don't mean anything. They don't mean anything. When the police are not concerned enough. I've known girls who went to the police with a list, names, addresses, car registration numbers. This guy, these men are raping girls all over this town. Nothing was done about it. Nothing was done about it. But we'll get the police going into a school because a child has been misgendered or something ridiculous and calling it a crime. We care. What about the real crimes here? What about the real crimes here? The police are doing easy, stupid, politically correct nonsense that the public don't care about.
No reason other than a religion. Now to me, it's not
time allotted.
Of course we can, but people have to join us. People have to join us. People have to join us. Democracy still belongs to us. Democracy still belongs to us. We are still the vast majority in this country. People have to believe in us and join it and get behind it. There's no point standing around waiting to see what happens. You have to make it happen. You have to stand up and make it happen. Because the people in Westminster did this to us. They did this to us. Do not trust them to sort it out.
I'd hate to think that it could come to something like a civil war. We're heading in a bad direction.
Well, UKIP had one goal. It was a different world. We weren't living in the same world when UKIP started. We were in a completely different country now, and they weren't willing. They weren't willing to tell the truth about this particular problem, and they're still not willing to do it. And what they don't realise is they will only succeed if they tell the truth, because the public will only trust them if they tell the truth. If the public sees that you're being politically correct, that you're holding back, that they know you're lying to them, why would they trust you? So the key to it is being straight down the line from the beginning, so the public will believe you. And I have done. I've lost so many seats, so many opportunities. I've been told countless times, if you don't rein it in, your career in politics is over. I said, I don't care. I will continue to say this. And it isn't the end of a political career. It's a real one, because the truth is what will win.
It's a vote. It's a vote. At the end of the day,
I know you are a feminist, aren't you? Or you were a feminist. Are you still a feminist?
I don't care.
A real one. Not a third wave lunatic. No.
What's right and what's wrong? Then look, Britain does that.
If what we see today as feminism, to me that's not feminism. It's communism with a feminist hue.
I think we can all agree.
Well, that's it. Well, that's exactly what I. That's
where we're getting to now.
UKIP has gone.
The
Greens are tiny.
The man's job.
We need people to unite behind one.
Oh, well, look, that's a bigger issue. Look, we're all in. No, hold on. We're all individuals. We're all individuals. We are free to live our lives as we see fit. That's a free country. I want that freedom for men and for women. That's it. That's it. If that's crazy feminism, then I'm a crazy feminist. That's it. That's my position. And I don't go on about it either.
I know that, but obviously you don't get on with it because we are trying to get
it's not well. It's not well.
There are.
Not every day. Not every week.
We have an issue here. The big issue is immigration. The second one is Islam, and they are completely connected. They are connected. We have to stop immigration from Muslim society. That is the harsh reality. That is the harsh reality.
would you be willing to speak to Lord Pearson?
I used to speak to Lord Pearson.
I know you did, but would you be willing to speak to him again?
Of course I would. I'd be willing to speak to anyone. They don't want to speak to me. And the reason they don't want to speak to me is because, when I speak, I tell the truth that embarrasses them. That's why they don't want to speak. It's the truth. It's the same old with the whole of UKIP. People telling me that there's division. I'm not causing the division. If Gerard Batten rang me, I would meet him. I would talk to him, but he's not going to, and he's not going to because I embarrass him with the truth. I embarrassed UKIP the whole time I was in it by saying things they kept telling me not to say. I didn't cause this division. I didn't go to the press and call anyone a neo-Nazi. They did. I didn't cause this. I have stood my ground for 10, 15 years. I've stood my ground and said exactly the same thing over and over again. And I will continue to do it. They don't want to be around me because I embarrass them. I embarrass them. Simple as that.